Welcome to the Fantasy Champions Fantasy Football Podcast. What do we got today, Rick?
We get the Week 11 waiver wire.
Welcome to the Fantasy Champions Fantasy Football Podcast. Here's your host, Morgan Colby and Rick Lemon.
Welcome to the Fantasy Champions Fantasy Football Podcast. What's poppin', Rick?
What's up, dude?
Week 10's in the books, and I'm absolutely devastated. We're recording this on Monday, so I might have a celebratory screech on Thursday. But it's about a 0% chance. I don't know. What do you guys think? I'm down by 6. And Dalvin Cook is on the other team, and I have Allen Robinson, so I need a miracle.
I give you about a 8% chance.
8. Okay, Sleeper gives me 13%.
All right, so I'm about on the same page.
You're
I have Vikings defense down 13 points.
Ouch.
Something like that. And Sleeper gives me a 40% chance, but I think that's a little high.
Yeah, probably. So Week 10 is in the books. It has been an interesting season this year, and with 6 weeks to go. 6 weeks to go.
Oh, wow.
Including playoffs. That's crazy.
That means there's only 3 weeks left of the regular season, huh?
Yeah. Unless you do 14 playoffs. I was thinking about this. Should we switch our league to one bye week and do it like the NFL?
Do 7 playoff?
Yeah, dude. Can I even do that?
I wouldn't mind that.
Is that he's like I wouldn't mind that because I would make the playoffs.
Because I'll probably be the 7th team. Yeah. I'm not sure though. I'm not sure if Sleeper allows that.
Yeah, I'm unsure as to that as well. If you've never listened before, my name is Morgan Colby. I got Rick Lemon with me as always. This week we got waiver wire ads, or today we have waiver wire ads. Before we jump into that, be sure to check out our website at thefantasychampions.com. Follow us on Twitter at the FFChamps, on Instagram at the Fantasy Champions. You can like us at facebook.com/the Fantasy Champions. If you are listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or any other podcasting platforms, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share this podcast with your friends. Subscribing is the best way to help our brand. I'm having a tough time talking today. Not sure why.
Dude, I feel like every time you lose,
I'm just down and out.
You just struggle in the podcast.
Yeah, I have a hard time. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe as well. We're trying to hit 1,000 subs. Rick can shave his head. You bald. Not sure. I got like a special trimmer too, so I'll just go straight down to the scalp.
Wow.
You'll be wearing hats for a week.
I cannot. Yeah, I know.
Not for longer than that, till your hair grows.
Yeah, probably a while.
Yeah. Click the bell for notifications, like and comment down below. Any questions you have for us pertaining to the waiver wire or trades or whatever you want, really. So let's jump right into the Week 11 waiver wire. As always, we're going to start with the quarterback position first. I mean, obviously, it comes down to streaming options, but I think, for me, I'll start with one guy that I think is pretty self-explanatory. Today, we got news that Drew Brees, most likely, he had some kind of rib injury. I don't know the extent of the rib injury, but he had a punctured lung as well. So I'm gonna assume he's gonna be out next week. That's what they're saying that he's gonna miss multiple weeks.
I would assume he's out as well.
With that being said, Jameis Winston becomes the starting quarterback. He's back. So I would add him if you can. I don't know what his matchup looks like next week. But in this offense in New Orleans and sitting behind Drew Brees all this time, I would hope that Winston learned anything. And he actually could be good. He's got Atlanta, Denver, and Atlanta the next 3 weeks. So that seems like an easy grouping of matchups. So I would definitely pick him up first, and he would be potentially a startable option for this week and beyond if Drew Brees misses extended time. But I know there's some big quarterbacks out this week, i.e. Josh Allen.
Yeah, there's some guys that I'm looking at here. First of all, I want to say Drew Lock and Baker Mayfield both burned me hardcore. I didn't play any of them in any of my leagues, but I did tell people that they could be good streaming options based on matchups, and they both blew chunks. So not trusting Drew Lock or Baker Mayfield. You told me not to trust Baker Mayfield either, and I was like, nah, dude, it's just the weather.
Let's go. It's just the weather.
I mean, it was again.
Never again.
It was a very bad weather game again, though. In the Cleveland game, the storm that hit New England on Sunday night was the same storm that was hitting Cleveland.
Oh my God.
So Mayfield only had 20 pass attempts, but still, I don't care about. I'm just still not starting it. But anyway, Winston is a good one, although it's just a little like. I'd be a little nervous to do it, even though it's such a great matchup, just because it's James Winston. But I think he'd probably be on the top of my list as well. If guys are healthy, like if Teddy Bridgewater is healthy, though, I think he should be on the top of your list if you're not owned in any of your leagues. Okay. You're streaming quarterbacks. Playing against Detroit, he had 30 points against Kansas City and 22 against Tampa. Right. Oh, I'm looking at the our 6-point touchdown or 5-point touchdown.
Crazy.
He had 20 points this past week. And I think he had 28 the week before against Kansas City. Yeah, he had 28 against Kansas City and 20 against Tampa, against two very good defenses. He's playing Detroit this week, so I'm expecting another 20-plus game from him. Another guy I'd be looking at is, it pains me to say.
Don't say Nick Foles.
I'm not gonna say Nick Foles, but I did think about it. There's just not many options.
He's on a
Kirk Cousins is somebody that against Dallas can be talked about, but I wouldn't like.
Yeah, not many options.
There's really not. Matt Stafford is a guy though. Again, if he's available in your league, but he's probably owned in your league. So there isn't that many options this week. I'd look who's available though, because if somebody like Matt Stafford or Teddy Bridgewater is available, I'd pick one of those guys up. But if not, I think Winston might be your best bet this week.
What about Daniel Jones against? He's got a bye week in Week 11. I'm sorry, it was telling me the wrong numbers. I need to always jump into Week 11. Yeah. Oof, God.
I know. I'm looking at the list. It's just nobody that I'm really trying to go out of my way for. If I was streaming quarterbacks, though, I probably would pick Winston this week, unless, like I said, somebody is available in your league that is better.
Right.
It pains me to say because he's probably my least favorite quarterback in the league. But you know what? No, I'm not going to say Kirk Cousins. I'm not going to do it.
Don't do it.
I'm not going to do it.
Yeah, I would say. I mean, for me, there's not many quarterbacks left on the list at this point.
Right.
I would say Bridgewater and Winston are the guys.
If Andy Dalton is back, would you consider him against Minnesota?
No, not for a second.
Yeah.
Not for a second. Let's move into our quarterbacks for the week. Running backs. I'm sorry. Did I say quarterbacks? Mother of God.
Yeah, you did.
So let's just get out the way of the normal. If Pollard, Alexander Madison,
yeah.
I can't even list any other guys at this point. All your handcuffs. Go out and pick them up. We won't reference them in this episode. But so there was a couple of running backs. I would say maybe two at this point. Maybe some speculative guys that you can add to the bottom of your bench if you have an extra spot. But Nyheim Hines, me and Rick, I remember we argued after week 1 about whether he was going to be good, and then he just wasn't. He followed it up by just being complete worthless garbage for
and you were right.
6 straight weeks. The last couple weeks, he's actually been relatively decent. I'm not sure why. I watched all the Colts games, and I have no idea what changed. Maybe he got more efficient, but it's not like anything changed. It just looks like he got a little bit more efficient. Oh, and he started scoring touchdowns. That'll do it. he does have a wicked easy schedule rest of the season.
Mm-hmm.
And Rick has Jonathan Taylor, but Jonathan Taylor out here getting 25% of the snaps. So you're screwed. I don't know if this is a trend for Nyheim Hines to continue. He had 56% snap percentage this week. I don't know if it's a trend for him to continue that pace, but he's had 4 touchdowns in 3 weeks. And I don't really believe that will continue, but when you look at the schedule of Green Bay, Tennessee, Houston, Raiders, Texans, Pittsburgh, and then Jacksonville in week 17, like there's not a hard game left for him. And so obviously that's exciting for the Taylor owner, and it's also exciting for if you want to get Hines. I'm not excited about Nyheim Hines because I feel like he's got a lot of really easy matchups, but he's the type of player that if he just doesn't score a touchdown, he's completely worthless.
Mm-hmm.
He had like 2 receiving touchdowns in that one game. Had he not caught those 2 touchdowns, he would have had 7 fantasy points. He had 26 this week against Tennessee. Had he not had the 2 touchdowns, he would have been around 14. So 14 is a good game, but 7 and 4 in 2 straight games against Detroit and Baltimore is a little bit scary without the touchdown. So it just depends on.
It's really all off this week.
Yeah.
If you're looking at Hines, I think he is worth a pickup, but I wouldn't pick him up and expect him to do what he did this week every week. The Colts feel like they're just going to be the type of team that's just going to use multiple running backs for the rest of the season, and they're just going to ride whoever's the hot hand, which blows if you own any of them, but that's just the way it looks like it's going to go.
Jordan Wilkins is trash, so
I don't know why it should just be Hines and Taylor. They should just use those 2 guys. I don't know why Wilkins gets involved.
I feel like
it aggravates me very much.
I feel like Frank Reich, and the worst part is they're still winning, so nothing's changing.
Nothing's gonna
change. But I feel like because Wilkins has been garbage. Like Jonathan Taylor is far better than Jordan Wilkins. Jordan Wilkins should not be on the field. Like he's just absolute garbage. He does not help their team at all. But like I think they went into the season with this mindset that they were going to use like Mack and Taylor and Hines and this 3 running back approach, and Frank Reich was going to break the mold and be like, I'm going to go with 3 running backs. Let's do it like the rest of the NFL. And then 5 seconds in the game, Mack got hurt and he didn't know what to do. You know what I mean? Like, so like to me, I think it's hard to really project what they're trying to do offensively with the running backs because no one really has been good besides, I would say, Hines. Like Taylor has had some good moments, but they just, if he screws up once, it's just he's out of the game for the rest of the game.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would add Hines. I don't know that there's anyone else. I would maybe take a speculative look at Cam Akers. He hasn't really had any opportunity, and
no,
it's kind of like throw a dart at a dartboard and hope it sticks with one of the 2 running backs not named Cam Akers for the Rams. But what's his name was talking him up in the front of the press the other day. Forgot his Sean McVay. So maybe Cam Akers is a speculative guy that you can add possibly at the bottom of your bench in case, maybe something happens or they put him in the game and he gets more opportunity. I don't know. But that's the only thing I can think of besides LaMichael Pirine is only owned in 20% of leagues. So, I mean.
Yeah, he could be owned. At this point, though, like I feel like Akers is really just a handcuff. And even then, like.
Handcuff to who?
Right. It's a handcuff to both Brown and Henderson. So if one of those guys gets hurt, the other guy is just going to take over and get more work.
Mm-hmm.
But Akers did have, I believe he had the most carries out of all 3 Rams running backs this past week.
Mm-hmm.
Akers had 10 carries, which led the team in carries, even though he had the least amount of fantasy points out of the 3. But so it is something to keep your eye on.
Yeah.
I think if you have a roster spot and you want to add an extra running back, I don't mind the add. It's just the Rams, like, Akers had 10 carries, Henderson had 7 or 6, and then Brown had 7 or 6. Like, they use all 3 guys.
Right.
So it's kind of not ideal. It's not an ideal situation. Yeah.
Okay. Let's move to wide receivers. This is a lot more fun. of a position every week, and then we'll quickly do tight ends because we're running out of time on this show. But I will lead off. So I texted somebody in our league earlier this year, and I was like, I was asking about this player because they drafted him and they had him at the bottom of the bench, and I was scrolling through YouTube, and I saw that him and his wife, girlfriend, or whatever have a YouTube channel, and so I just watched an hour of their vlogs. Sounds ridiculous, but I was like, I want Michael Pittman on my team. So I sent a text, and he was like, "Dude, why do you even want him?" And I'm like, I like his personality and his YouTube channel. So totally logical and reasonable response to this. The week following, he ended up getting hurt, so I'm glad I didn't trade for him. But this week, the past 2 weeks against Baltimore and Tennessee, he's had 7 and 8 targets and 87 and 81% snap percentage. This is one of the guys coming into the year that a lot of people were hyping up to have success this year early because T.Y. Hilton's an absolute garbage can. There's really no one else there besides maybe Paris Campbell, but he's still on IR, correct?
Yeah, I believe so.
So anyway, yeah, so Pittman he got 8 this week particularly. He had 8 targets, 7 receptions, 101 yards. And he also had 1 rush for 21 yards. So we have 15 total fantasy points in the game. He had a really good game. He's young, talented. It seems like he's starting to figure out NFL offenses just a little bit. So I would be excited to jump out and try to get him on your team if you have the possibility or the capability of doing that. I wouldn't spend too much on him, maybe 15 to 20, but it's definitely worth the speculation.
100%. And his schedule rest of the season is pretty easy. Other than this week against Green Bay, it's Tennessee, Houston, Las Vegas, Houston again, Pittsburgh, who is a great defense, but have struggled a little bit against wide receivers fantasy-wise, and then Jacksonville. So he's got a pretty easy schedule rest of the season. So I would definitely take a flyer on him. I'm not sure if he can consistently get that 15 points a week, but if he ends up getting 7-8 targets a week with that schedule, he could end up being a solid flex.
Yeah. Do you got another guy?
Honestly, I don't think this list is as good as it was
a couple weeks
last
ago.
Week or even the last few weeks. MVS, Marquez Valdez-Scantling. Valdez-Scantling.
Yeah, you got it.
That's why I call him MVS.
MVS. It's easier that way.
He's been producing the last few weeks, but I don't know. Are you trying to pick him up knowing that like Alan Lazard's coming back?
Yeah, I don't know about that.
He's had 2 great weeks.
I almost would rather add Keelan Cole than.
Really? Okay.
I don't even like him.
I think Jalen Reagor, hasn't really produced a lot of that whole offense is below. But he's still getting like 7, similar to Michael Pittman. He's getting like 7.
I feel like Reagor's been on our list for like 3-4 straight weeks. No one wants Reagor.
Yeah,
but you've held on to him all year.
I know. It's just it's my last bench spot. I'm just like.
He does have an easier schedule rest of season, and he's had 6 or 7 targets over the last couple weeks. But have you watched an Eagles game recently?
I watched some in the beginning of the year, and it was ugly. It was really bad.
It's still ugly, and I don't know what's wrong with Carson Wentz. I'll tell you right now, completely unrelated to Jalen Reagor. I was getting so mad because he throws it to Boston Scott. He throws it right at Boston Scott's chest. You want to know why? Because Boston Scott's 2 feet tall. So when he throws it to Miles Sanders, it's at his kneecaps, and he can't catch it every freaking time.
No, I don't know.
He's spending so much time trying to catch a terrible pass from Carson Wentz that he can't turn upfield.
Because Carson Wentz's MVP season, he was fantastic.
Yeah,
and even last year, like
he shows flashes of like that player, but I don't know what it is with him.
He's been awful this year.
Maybe it's the offensive line. I don't know.
Yeah, I have no idea.
But I don't know if that's going to really affect Reagor. He had 11 and 6 the last couple of weeks. He does have an easy schedule. If he gets the target share, which it looks like he's getting 6 to 7 targets a game, he might be a decent flex.
I think it's just going to be about touchdowns.
He has not been productive or efficient with the yardage that he's been putting up. So,
right. Yeah. Other than that, I don't really see too many guys that I'd be willing to pick up. I know Josh Reynolds is somebody that people were talking about.
Mm-hmm.
He does have a great schedule, but he's still the third wide receiver on that team.
Yeah.
I think he's gonna have, some good weeks. He gets like 10 points.
Mm-hmm.
Like he had 13 this week and half PPR against Seattle, but it is against the
Right.
Seattle team that has struggled big time in the secondary.
Mm-hmm.
So I wouldn't like rely on him, but he might be worth an ad just because of the end of season schedule. But that's about it.
Okay. Let's talk about tight ends really quickly, and then and end this cluster frick.
Sure.
I mean, hold on. Well, I was gonna mention Tim Patrick, but
okay, you can. I mean,
no, I don't want him though. I don't.
Okay.
I looked at his numbers and I was like, no, I don't want this kid. I just wanted to let people know that I don't want him now that I looked at his numbers in case they were gonna ask.
It was somebody that I was thinking about picking up like a few weeks ago, but I'm kind of glad I didn't.
It's funny because I made a trade for Aaron Jones, and some teams they like to make themselves feel better about throwing an extra player in, and so I traded for Aaron Jones, and the team that I traded with threw in Sammy Watkins.
Oh, you own Sammy Watkins in our home league?
Yeah. And so I'm like, no, I'm not dealing with this anymore. So I'm gonna drop him 5 seconds after. 5 seconds after he's on my team, because I'm like, this is totally worthless. That's how I feel about Sammy Watkins. In case you guys are wondering whether you should pick him up too. It's so funny. First 3-4 games of the season, Sammy Watkins always does really, really well, and everyone's like, oh, here we go, Sammy Watkins year. It's gonna be it. And the rest of the season,
he still hasn't
like
scored double-digit points since that opening night, though. Now, granted, he has been hurt, but like even in the following 3 or 4 weeks after that, I think he got like 9 for.
Yeah.
Like
right. So. Is there any tight ends that you're looking at?
Not really. I think Dalton Schultz, if he's available in your league, he's got a pretty easy schedule, and when Andy Dalton comes back, he doesn't. I know he doesn't have a quarterback.
Oh, when Andy Dalton comes back, it might be a dump-off machine.
Right, and he's had a decent amount of targets last 2 weeks. Jordan Reed, same thing, has a very easy schedule. Got like 6 targets, 5 catches this past week, but neither guy I'm really trying to go out of my way to get.
Yeah. There were some rumors floating around about Trey Burton being somewhat decent, but he, after that 19-point game, was basically worthless.
Yeah. With Alex Smith at quarterback, do you like Logan Thomas? He had 8 points this week, 6 targets, 4 catches, 66 yards. He's got kind of a tough.
It's not bad against Cincinnati and Dallas, and with Alex Smith at quarterback, it might lead to something good. But it just
maybe some 8-point weeks again, 8 to 10 points.
Some weeks he's really good, some weeks he's not, and I think Washington's offense isn't good, so his touchdown upside is limited. But when you look at what he's done, he's had 5 games this year out of the 9 that he's played where he's had over 6, and he's never gone under 4 targets. So over 6 targets in 5 games, just under 5 targets in the other games. Right. So I think he'll get the target share. It's just a matter of whether or not he's going to score.
Yeah, right.
The other guy that I would say probably owned in your league by another team, but Jared Cook is always a good option.
Mm-hmm.
He's a player that he's not going to get target share, so you're going to sit there sick in the face watching the Saints game. I was so mad. TJ Hawkinson sucked this last week. Worst game of the season. I ranked him. I'll be upfront. I had him number 1 on my week 10 rankings at tight end.
Who was he playing? Like you put him number 1.
I don't remember, but the consensus from the other fantasy experts was 2. So I was like, what the hell? I'm going to put him up.
It's like 3 or 4. Yeah, I think.
But so I moved him up to like 1 or 2, and he got 2 fantasy points. So thank you, TJ Hawkinson.
Would you really want to pick up Jared Cook though? Now that Michael Thomas and Emmanuel Sanders?
Yeah, I would.
He had 2 targets for 0 catches against San Francisco.
Yeah, but he's playing Atlanta.
The week before that, he had. Oh, for this week against Atlanta, yeah, maybe. But does Winston throw to tight ends?
Yeah. He had Brate and O.J. Howard.
And O.J. Howard. Oh, he kind of threw it to O.J. Howard. O.J. Howard and Doghouse. But
so he's not.
Yeah,
bad.
He might not be a bad option. Yeah.
But anyway, go ahead.
No, but that's about it.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's enough of.
Do you think who is? I was gonna say Jimmy Graham. He has a bye week, so yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah. I think that'll do it for our waiver wire list for week 11.
You have to look at it.
Yeah. I was like, I had to study it and figure it out. We are cruising through the fantasy football season. Tomorrow we got trade targets. Only 1 or 2 more episodes of trade targets left, so be sure to check out that and follow us on Twitter and Instagram. We'll talk to you tomorrow, Fantasy Champs.
Later.
Thank you for listening to the Fantasy Champions Podcast. Make sure you subscribe on iTunes and YouTube, and follow us on Twitter @TheFFChamps.